Thanks for clicking on Wayne.com for another edition of Inside the Zone. He's Blake Sebring. I'm Glenn Marini. I must reintroduce myself. The sports director at Wayne TV, finally not on the road, covering all kinds of things this week.
I thought one of those things was a snow day with your daughters.
Well, one of them was. The other was a trip to South Dakota.
But I would require video proof of this before we let you slide.
Oddly, I bet if you visit my wife's Facebook page, there is video proof, because there's video proof of everything there. We've got video proof of the Komets playing pretty well this past weekend. That's the biggest key. So Wednesday night, talk about where you saw the Komets, because it wasn't a great start to the week, but it ended pretty well for the K's.
Well, you kind of knew they were in trouble when they scored 3 goals in the first period, which may sound nuts, but Gary Graham nailed it. He said, well, I knew as soon as we started getting early goals, we were going to forget defense and just go for offense. And that's exactly what happened. I mean, yeah, the goalie didn't play great, but nobody was helping him either. I mean, they was just getting bombarded. And so he was getting jumpy and anticipating shots before they were there. And, you know, it was just a bad game.
It wasn't pretty. 8 goals given up. Kevin Murdoch no longer here. But Friday.
Neither is Dirty Dick Murdoch either.
Well, we don't have any. We don't. We could get footage of that. But talking about Friday, bounce back game. They hosted Toledo. Last time these teams were going to meet in the regular season, we assume they have a chance to meet in the playoffs at some point. So what did you see? Because Mark Guggenberger comes in. Great name. You got Googs in goal. They're happy to get a goalie of his caliber.
Second longest name in Komets history.
Who's first?
Jason Hupelheiser.
Oh, my goodness. We could have a whole segment about that. It just would take too long to put on the internet.
But they balanced it out by bringing back Michael Tam.
Oh, extremely short.
There you go.
Is that the shortest?
That's one of the shortest.
Okay, 3 letters.
Yeah, there's like 8 guys that played with 3 letters.
Well, Mark Guggenberger, to get him at this stage, how big of a coup is that for the Komets? Because what we saw over the weekend, I mean, he's a legitimate, if not starting goalie in this league, a really good backup goalie.
Well, he's a former all-league goalie. I mean, you know, second team. He was Rookie of the Year in the Central League, was a Central League Goalie of the Year. I mean, he's legit. He's a legitimate goaltender who, like James Martin, who played with him last year in Alaska, said, he can win games for you all by himself sometimes. And the Komets haven't had that since Nick Boucher. I mean, Kenny Ryder played out of his mind a few times, but, you know, the Komets haven't had that kind of goalie to give them confidence since Nick Boucher.
Well, clear up the goaltending picture now if you can, because if a big if, it's a big if, it's a if the Komets
I think that's the point right there.
If Nagel comes back?
You don't even worry about it right now. You don't worry, you know, Eric Fye is back today and it's a huge surprise because you can't worry about it. You don't have any control over it. And I think the Komets realized that do they want to go try for an ECHL championship with only a 22-year-old rookie as your primary and pretty much only goaltender? You know, or do you want to try and gamble and go get somebody really good, and then you're solid either way, even if Pat doesn't come back or Pat comes back and some other contender picks him up, you know, which you have no control over again. I think they would rather be solid and they can sleep at night. They don't have to worry about that anymore. Now, if Pat comes back, they'll figure it out from there. I'm imagining they'll go with 3 goalies because Roman's playing great. He's 6-0-2 in his last 8. You can't really argue with that. And Googs, he's going to be really good. I mean, the more playing time he's going to get, and with 4 games in 5 nights the next couple weeks, they're going to get plenty. So you just don't worry about it. You know, you just go with what you got. Like, you know, you didn't know Fire was coming back, so they went out and they got Aaron Clark. Great signing. You know, or they got J.M. Risk, another one. You know, I mean, if anything, you've told the players in the locker room, management is all in. I mean, you know, boys, it's on you now. We've given you everything we can possibly give you. It's up to you guys.
You've got the bodies. You're playing for your slots at this point.
And amazingly, they've got one player right now who's on an AHL or NHL contract, and that's Roman Will. And there's going to be nights where you're not going to have any of those guys in the lineup, and you're going against teams that are getting loaded up again. You know, you haven't gotten anybody from Lake Erie from the forwards or defensemen right now at all. You know, you could get 4 or 5 guys from them still. And you're still going to get CJ's going to come off IR tomorrow, you know, and Paul Crowder's still working him back. I mean,
and we saw what Tam could do.
Oh yeah, he looked really good, didn't he? I mean, and you're going to be loaded, you know. I mean, but to get to that point, you really can't look ahead. You really can't because who's going to get hurt tomorrow? You know, you can't worry about it. You got no control over it.
You mentioned Eric Fye. At this point in the season, to get him back, What does that mean for the Komets? Because I don't know if they thought they were going to get him
They
back.
didn't think they were going to get him back. What happened was Texas, Dallas signed the University of Maine center and sent him to Texas, and that took care of Eric's playing time, so they're sending him back. Plus, his 25-game tryout contract was up. But until they just did that with the Maine guy, they were not expecting him back. I mean, again, they weren't counting on him, but he's coming back. Now, like Michael Tam, that's better than anybody you could get right now in a trade if the trading deadline hadn't passed. I mean, without giving anything up again, you just made yourself 5% stronger, 10% stronger, probably 20% stronger with both of those guys, and you see what happens.
What does Phi specifically bring? Because you're talking about a guy in 32 games with the Komets this season, 32 points, 16 goals. I mean, his production is fantastic. So what does he bring on the ice for this team?
I think he'll put Sidlowski, Mbach, and Phi back together again. Not that it's not going to work with Aaron Clark, but you already know it works with Eric Phi. You know that he can skate with them at that level and be a playmaker and be a producer. Aaron's still working back to that level, and the way that they're struggling to score a little bit right now, I'd stick Eric back in with those two right away.
The K's have outshot their opponent in the last 11 games.
Yep.
I mean, they are firing away.
Yep.
What does that mean? We know what the numbers say.
Right.
What does that mean? How does that translate into more success on the ice in your mind?
It doesn't right now, and for one simple reason: they are taking way too many penalties. It's 30. The last 7 games is 30 power plays against, 16-4. That's insane. That is nuts, and that has nothing to do with referee bias or incompetence. It's about player selfishness and stupidity, because half of those penalties have been by forwards in the offensive zone, chopping a guy down or hooking or something like that, where they're 150 feet away from the net. They have got to fix that. That is something, I don't care if you got to bench guys, whatever, you have to fix that right now, because in the playoffs that'll kill you. I mean, they are beating teams 5-on-5 not 5-on-5 yet, quite easily. But they've got to stay out of the box because they keep giving up the penalty, the power play chances, and the other teams are scoring. Well, when you play 4 games in 5 nights, and now you're asking your teammates to kill off 6, 7 power plays in a game, you're killing them. That's selfish.
That runs into my next question. Was they gave up 2 power play goals to Cincinnati in each of the games. So you're talking like 4 power play goals in 2 games, Saturday, Sunday. Do you believe that's just an issue of too many opportunities for the other team, or can the penalty kill improve for this Komets?
I think both. As Mark Guggenberger gets more comfortable, as the guys get more comfortable with him, they know what he wants, and he knows how they operate. Maybe he knows the shooters better too. That it all works into that. It's all momentum type thing. It really is. Once you're going well, it's good. Once you're going bad, you're kind of you're hesitating just a little sometimes. I watched Kaylee Schrock a lot this week on the PK, and he was really aggressive. I mean, he was out there challenging, harassing guys, blocking shots, blocking passes. I didn't see a lot of that otherwise. There was some lapses there that need to get corrected.
We've only got 13 games left in the regular season. I say we, I'm not on the team. But 13 games left in the regular season.
Essentially.
Yeah. So you've got at Indy on Wednesday, then you've got Kalamazoo at Kalamazoo on Friday, and then 2 games against Missouri. This is a week where you could really make some hay, an important week as we go down the stretch. What is your outlook for this week? How important is this week, knowing this is a week where you can put some points up?
Yeah, you should put some points up. I mean, I think Indy's a paper tiger. They're like, well, if you're going to let us hang around and make a mistake or two, we'll take the game from you, but you're going to have to give it to us. And the Komets gave them the last 2 games at home, and they need to really go down and establish themselves again against the Fuel in Indy on Wednesday. They need to come out firing and take it to them. Kalamazoo, same thing, that 8-4 game. You think that's going to be forgotten? Not the way the talking and the everything and the chippiness was going last Friday night. That won't be forgotten again. It's time to, let's start. Okay, it's 13 games left. It's time to start building again and putting more solid, consistent performances together.
And one of the reasons I mentioned that is because when you take a look at, yes, the North Division, we know it's been Toledo and the Komets all year, but that's a small part of the picture because you got to take a look at the Eastern Conference standings. It's really tight. I mean, the Komets could play well. They're right second right now, but they could play well down the stretch and find themselves as the 4th seed, as the 5th seed, as the 3rd seed, because it is tight as far as the top 5 teams go in the Eastern Conference.
Yeah, and I'll give you another one. I think they need to start building some confidence to be able to handle Toledo if they get to the second round. How many times have they played Toledo of late where they let Toledo back into games? Or they had to rally late. It's not like they were dominating those games. I mean, they weren't playing their best. Toledo wasn't playing their best either. They didn't have their full lineup. But they need to start building some confidence that way, I think.
Yeah, Florida 86 points. Komets second with 84. Reading 83. Toledo 82. South Carolina, who's on fire, 81. It's tight at the top as far as home ice goes for the playoffs.
Well, and that's only for the Eastern Conference Finals, you know. But still, it'll be interesting because you got to wonder, whoever comes out of that Eastern Division, they're going to be beat up after 2 rounds, really bad. Whereas the Komets in Toledo, if they get there, they're not really that chippy, physical. It's not like the Komets in Cincinnati or the Komets in Kalamazoo at all. I think they could have an advantage there.
What are you most looking forward to this week? Because, like we said, it is a week to make hay.
I think they got to win 4. I really do. I mean, I look at this as Missouri's out of the playoff picture from the Central Division. You've got to keep playing extremely well at home. And they have been. They're like 9-0-3, I mean, in their last 12 at home. That's pretty darn good. You'd take it. And you really need to make a statement at both Indy and at Kalamazoo.
All right. Anything else you'd like to add about this week, Blake?
Well, it was nice to see you again, and you know, I mean...
Occasionally I do work. Occasionally, if you call this work.
Yeah, I was going to say, you actually got a day off in March. How does that happen?
I don't know, but it probably won't happen for the rest of March.
I know.
So I'll be here probably for the rest of the Komet season, talking on Mondays
there you go.
with Blake for Inside the Zone. For this week, I'm Glenn, he's Blake, and we'll see you again, hopefully.
And remember Dirty
Dick
Murdoch.
Dirty Dick Murdoch, Google. We'll see you next week.